Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. We've launched the meeting and we'll start at 1 o'clock or shortly thereafter. So just wanted to let you know, thank you so much for joining and we'll get started in just a few minutes. Welcome, Erin. We are just waiting for some rest of our folks to join. So
Great.
welcome everybody that's joining. Thank you. We'll kick it off in just a couple minutes. As a reminder, if you want to select in the view options, you can make Erin's screen the bigger by saying going to view and going to speaker, and that will show you the main person that is speaking. So if it's looking small, that's how you fix that. And we will kick it off in just a few minutes. I'm sure we'll have people continuing to join shortly right after, and we'll just let you kick off and they can join anytime. It shouldn't cause an interruption. So
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I am Amanda Hilton. I'm the president of the Nevada Mining Association, and I am thrilled to have such great participation at today's event. I want to start off by thanking Erin Witt for being our presenter today for Lessons in Storytelling. Erin and I first had a phone call earlier this summer when we were talking about the possibilities of him attending our annual convention. And unfortunately, Erin wasn't able to attend that convention, but he offered to do this webinar for our membership, which is fantastic because we're able to engage with people throughout the industry who may or may not have been at the convention. I'm sure many of you have seen Aaron's work on LinkedIn and on YouTube. He has 400,000 plus followers on YouTube. And I love what a fierce advocate he is for our industry and on working towards developing the workforce of the future. So Aaron, thank you so much for being here today, and I want to turn the time over to you.
Sure. Thank you, Amanda. I'm very happy to be here, and I'm going to share my presentation real quick with you all here. So does that, Amanda, can you see that?
I can see that, and I did change my view to
Okay.
speaker mode. So if
Okay.
anybody hasn't done that yet and you're having troubles, please do that.
Excellent. I will say before I get going, I'm going to run through this. And if you have questions, I've given this talk before to other leaders in the industry. There's usually a lot of questions. Just write your question down, and we should have time to talk about whatever you all want to talk about once we're done here. I'll go pretty quick because usually the questions are the best part. Today, all we're going to talk about is storytelling. I think this is absolutely essential for the mining industry. The mining industry is, I think, a little beat up right now when it comes to workforce, when it comes to public perception, so on and so forth. You can go down the list. And I think storytelling is not the magic potion, but a key part in helping to get our industry back on track and making sure we can produce the resources that society needs long term. So a little bit of background on me. I started out in the construction industry at 18 years old. I grew up in Scottsdale, Arizona, far from any kind of mining town or blue collar world. My dad was a lawyer, but there was a construction project in my neighborhood that I fell in love with. I thought the machines were fascinating. I couldn't get enough of them. So I called the company, asked for a job, began as a construction worker. And that's where my love for what we call the dirt world now started. So then I was counseled to go to engineering school. So I get an engineering degree. I go to work for a bunch of different companies, 5 different companies in 4 different states while I was in school, get a bunch of experience. But then after graduating, I start to share some stories online, which was 2017. That started to took off. I started BuildWitt officially in 2018, almost 7 years ago now, which is pretty cool. And since we've been able to scale across now the world, which I'll get to in a moment, and reach tens of millions, hundreds of millions of people, generate billions and billions of views with our storytelling. Once I started on my own, I started to grow then across the United States. So the original business when I began BuildWitt became a marketing and media company. And my first thesis was, hey, if we want the next generation to join us as a construction or mining industry, we need to educate that next generation on who we are and what we do. So we started to work with companies across the United States. We built that marketing business and still have that marketing business today. Then a few years into it, great, we're getting these younger people into the industry, but they don't know anything. They're like me. We need to train them up. We need to develop them. And that's when we came up with BuildWitt training. Right now, it's primarily for civil construction, but will soon be for mining as well. It's all video-based training. We have about 30,000 users on the platform, about 500 companies using it now to train their people on basics, like how an excavator works, to how to better manage their finances, take care of their mental health, their physical health, how to communicate more effectively. And that is really the future of our company, software, because it scales across the industry. And then finally, you get people in, you train them up, you want to keep them. And that's why we then started an event side of our business with what we now call the Area Dirt World Summit, which is the industry's only leadership specific event. We hosted our first event last year for about 700 industry leaders. We host our second event next week, actually, in San Antonio with about 1,100 industry leaders. So it's quickly becoming the industry's premier leadership-focused conference for that senior leader, so that they can learn how to lead more effectively, take that back to their companies, and ultimately impact tens of thousands of people with this event. So that's our business in a nutshell. What I do specifically is what we call influence. And so the more people that know about BuildWitt and the dirt world, the better our business does. And so I travel worldwide now, all across the United States, every state, and have gone to a lot of countries visiting construction projects and mining projects. And because I'm in my 20s still, I'm not a threat to anybody. And because I reach now tens of millions of people from the next generation, there's a lot of amazing operations and companies that have been very willing to have us into their what they do, their mine or their tunnel project or whatever it is, to ultimately educate society. So everything I'm talking to you about today is based on largely my travels over the past few years, visiting operations all over the place, and then all of the storytelling I've been able to do, people I've reached online. So as I've traveled, I've asked myself, and as I've done more of the speaking, I've asked myself, what are the common themes between the best in class companies? And if I were to group all the companies I see into categories, I would say there's three simple categories. And this is oversimplifying, but I would be able to categorize most everybody in these three buckets. First, I think are the what I call the losers. And I say that because they are going to ride the status quo into the dirt. They're going to say, you know what? We've just been doing it this way for 50 years or whatever it is. It's still working out pretty well. We're just going to keep doing it. And it might work for them next year, 5 years, 10 years, but it's ultimately not going to work. Not because they don't have the ore grade or the assets or whatever it is, but because they won't have the workforce necessary to do the actual work itself. Next, we'll have the biggest group, and I call them the followers. And those are the companies that once there's enough pressure applied, will finally relent and say, hey, fine, I'll come around and I'll start doing things differently and recruiting differently, telling our story, so on and so forth. And they'll ultimately make it just fine, but they won't see any kind of advantage. They'll just continue on. But then we have, and these are the companies I really focus on, the winners, the best in class companies, the companies that are saying, hey, okay, cool. We've gotten here and we've maybe have been doing this for 100 years and we've been really successful at it. But the world has changed. We need to change with it. So what do we need to do to get to that next level, get to that next generation? And like I said, those are the companies inviting me out right now, showing what they do proudly and getting ahead as a result. So if you look then at what the winners are doing, and we're not going to dive into all of these. I have a talk next week about all of these specifically, but these are the simple key characteristics of what I think the best in class companies are doing to then get the workforce they need. And if you look at 6, one of these is they tell their story. There are no longer people just coming up to your mine site or your office or whoever you are, wherever you work, and saying, hey, I'm 18 years old. I'm ready to work. I'm going to show up on time. I'm going to ask questions. I'm everything you need. That doesn't happen anymore. That's completely unrealistic, but that's still in a lot of ways what we're assuming. Because that's kind of what's happened as an industry. We've just naturally attracted the people we need over time, but that's just not the case anymore. And we have to tell our story, not just from a workforce standpoint, but if we don't stand up for ourselves as an industry, no one's going to stand up for us. We are just going to get more and more abused from a legal standpoint, policy standpoint, environmental standpoint. You can go down the list until we stand up for ourselves and say, hey, no, that's not actually how it is. This is how it is. This is our story. Nothing's going to change. So the storytelling is key from a workforce standpoint, but for the mining industry, it's also a much bigger picture. So why is storytelling so important? Well, one, we all know this, but just to highlight it, the industry has a serious workforce challenge. We have only started to see the beginning of it. It's bad in construction. It's worse in mining. And it frightens me as a young individual, but it also makes me really excited because that is the opportunity. So we are missing the workforce we need to produce the resources society needs. And this isn't a nice to have. This is something we have to figure out. And to figure it out, what we're doing right now is not working because we wouldn't have the problem if it was. We need to do something differently. We need to get the word Benefits of storytelling. One, you can attract and draw from a national pool. People are willing to move for the right opportunity, for the right employer. So traditionally, especially with mining companies, you've drawn from very specific pools in specific areas. But I have seen this time and time again. The companies telling their story, those are the companies that people are moving from across the country to go to work for because they've been seeing them every day when they go to their phone. They think it's going to offer them a better future and they want to sign up. So this gives you storytelling, and especially social media, gives you the ability to attract and draw people in from a much bigger pool than potentially you've been able to draw from. Second, and I would say more importantly, it allows you to retain your people. This is a big deal. Turnover is also quite bad in the trades and in mining. So if we can lower turnover, if we can remind the people that are out on the mine site every day or your supplier location or whatever it is, remind them why they're doing what they're doing, they're probably less likely to leave. And if they don't leave as quickly, we don't have to hire as many people. So it's not just from an outside standpoint. Telling your story is as much internal, if not more internal, than it is external. And making sure your existing workforce is hearing from you, is understanding what the big picture is, the better off you'll be. So to summarize, you're building that sense of pride. You're reminding the why. Hey, you're not just driving a haul truck. This is why we're doing it big picture. You are a piece of a much bigger puzzle. And without you and without this puzzle, society doesn't function. And people lose track of that because they're not hearing that story. But if we tell that story, they're reminded of it. And then finally, it offers you the ability to connect directly, communicate directly with those in the field, which is, again, a really big deal. So why there's so many benefits to it? Why do people get caught up? Why do companies get caught up? Because storytelling is still not common. It's actually quite rare in this world, which is it's very frustrating to me. There's a ton of different reasons. If I highlight my people, they're just going to get poached. Safety citations, MSHA comes up all the time. But I was talking with a friend of mine yesterday, and I have yet to find a concrete example of MSHA citing based off of a social media post, and I'm happy to be proven wrong, but I have not seen it ever before. Trade secrets. Very rarely is there a trade secret in mining. Your number one asset's typically your ore body, and I can't steal that ore body. It's yours. And there are some intricacies, especially on the processing side, but most of what we do is not at all secret, and we're harming the overall industry if we're not talking about it. Environmental concerns is a big deal in mining, but finally, I think most importantly, it's just a fear of looking and sounding stupid and opening yourself up to criticism. But ironically, if you don't tell that story, if you leave that narrative open for anybody to take, they're going to take it and they're going to be able to craft the story however they want. And so telling your story is actually the best defense against that potential criticism because people can see for themselves the reality. But without that reality, anybody else, any actor out there can make up the reality. And because your story doesn't exist, perception is reality. That becomes the new reality, which is where the mining industry as a whole is at as a whole right now. So that's big picture. But I love this presentation because we can get into the weeds a little bit. So I love to talk about social media, and from here on out, we're just going to be into the weeds. So I first began my social media journey. I listened to this podcast called the MFCEO Project by Andy Frisella. I was working on the railroad at the time in 2015, and I listened to a lot of his episodes on personal branding and social media specifically. And based on what he said, I started to post on social media because I knew if I built a personal brand online, I could be more employable. I would have potentially more employment options. And since then, he has a very simple formula. I have followed this formula to a T, and this is how I've generated billions and billions and billions of views very consistently now. And all the formula is is deliver value consistently. That's it. That's all I do. Nobody really cares about me. Nobody really cares about my company. They care about themselves. And so if I can give them value, and if I can do that consistently, they will follow along, they will engage, and I will grow my message, which will then grow my business. So this is it. There's no tricks. There's no best time of day, hashtags, whatever it is. All you have to do is you just have to deliver value consistently. And how do you do that? Well, you educate, you inspire, or you entertain, or you do a combination of the three. So if you go to every one of my social posts, I'm educating people, I'm teaching, I'm inspiring them, I'm making them feel something, or I'm entertaining. I'm just giving them something that's enjoyable. So first, educate. How big are modern mining machines? This was a post I had not too long ago. Well, most everybody has never seen a mining machine. Most everybody has never been on a mine, but they've seen a truck, they've seen a pickup truck, they've been on a large aircraft or seen one, hopefully at the airport. And so this great graphic, thanks to P&H and Komatsu, really demonstrates the scale and puts it into perspective. So that was all this post was. You might be around rope shovels, 4100s all day, every day, but most people don't see a rope shovel and can't conceptualize a rope shovel. But something like this is very simple. Here is what the size of a mining machine can look like. That's it. Educate. Next, this was a post I made from, and I would put this in the inspire category. And I was talking about the worst times I've had in business. So I got pretty vulnerable here, and I was talking about when we've missed payroll, which is not a fun topic. But those are the posts that do the best, and that's most inspirational. So by using my experiences, by using my lessons learned, I'm hoping I can offer something of value to those following along with me. I can tell my story while giving that value, while inspiring. And then finally, funny. This would not cut it on a mine site. This is a construction site, but this is funny. This is entertaining. What's a toilet doing in a bulldozer? How ridiculous is that? But it doesn't have to be funny at the same time. A mining truck, mining in general, is entertaining. We just have to show people what the heck goes on within our pits. It's frustrating to me at times because I go to mining company websites and you don't see mining, but it's like, what do you do? What pays the bills? I get those flowers are important. I get this is important, but show me what you do. What makes the money? Oh, moving gold ore, picking up gold, blasting gold ore, picking it up with a big shovel, putting it into a truck, and processing it. That's what makes the money. That's entertaining to me. We don't have to try very hard here. We have an amazing story. We just, again, have to get it out there. So social media for companies, just some simple basics at the company level. Like I said, show the work. Just please show me what your company does. It can be that simple. There's no strategy necessary, no marketing agency required. Just show what you do. You see it every day. It's common knowledge to you, but it is not common knowledge to 99.9% of people in our society that could potentially come to work for you. Next, you can highlight specific projects you have going on, people, vendors. Hey, this vendor's been great for us. They've really helped us get to the next level. I saw Rio Tinto, I think it was yesterday, Kennecott, talking about their vendors from a renewable diesel side of things. That's a great story. That's really valuable. And finally, really focus on it as a communication and recruiting channel. There's a lot of stuff on there, and companies, they just don't quite understand who they're talking to, or they're trying to talk to everybody, or they're talking to nobody. If you're going to talk to one person, who are we trying to recruit? Okay, this 23-year-old, who is that 23-year-old? Where are they? And what do they want to see? and how can I speak to them? So think about who you're trying to talk to, not you, not what this outside organization wants to see, whatever it is, but who are you trying to appeal to and what do they want to see? And most often it is a recruiting channel. You're trying to get to that next generation. So some great posts, and these are more construction posts. I didn't dig into mining specifically on these examples, but it's the same thing. Suka Construction, a big earth moving contractor. All this post is them explaining the project. I love this. They're cubic yards, linear feet, square feet. I absolutely love just what the heck is happening. Here's a picture and here's what the heck we did. It's as simple as that. Our people, highlighting our people. So if I'm outside of this company, outside of CW Matthews, and I see this, okay, that's a company that values its people. That's a company I'm going to be more likely to work for. But all of these people, you might say, well, none of these guys are on social media, so it doesn't matter. Well, I bet their families are on social media. And I hear this all the time. I'm not on social media, but my daughter is. And my daughter saw me on social media, and she was proud of her father or her mother. And that made me feel really good. Do you know what that does for retention, for pride? That goes a long way. And when you're not telling these stories, that's what you're leaving on the table. So then social media as an individual, great. I have nothing to do with my company. I work for this massive mega corporation. I have no say. Fantastic. Well, I still think it's a big deal for everybody to be telling the story of the industry. And so one, I would say I've never been around a great leader who is not a great communicator. I have not found one. Leadership is about conveying ideas and influencing people. How do you do that? Through communication. I've become a much better communicator because I have told stories consistently, thanks to social media, for years now. Two, if you go to my social media, you go to my LinkedIn, count how many selfies there are. There aren't many selfies because I make it about others. You don't have to make it about you. Everybody's like, well, I don't want to talk about me. Then don't talk about you. Talk about those you work with, the vendors you work with, the work that your people are doing and how it's impacting the community. Talk about others. How much fun is that? Have fun with it. Give people praise. Who doesn't want to do that and make other people feel good? And if you're going to focus on one place, if you told me, Aaron, choose one social platform out of them all, I would say I'll take LinkedIn 10 out of 10 times. You don't need to be everywhere, just be somewhere. And so if you're not somewhere, I would definitely start with telling stories on LinkedIn because LinkedIn is so powerful, it's not even funny. Here's some great personal stories. So this is Dan. He works at BuildWitt. He went to a Milwaukee event and he posted about Milwaukee. Hey, I was invited to this great event. Here's what happened. And here's why I enjoyed it. Great. He's not talking about himself. He has a picture of him there, but he's talking about the overall experience and making it about the event and the company itself. Then we have Vince Cifelli, a friend of mine. He, people ask me how I'm doing what I'm doing. Well, I'm doing it because I have great support at home. And I have this wife, Stacy, who's absolutely spectacular. These are the posts that actually do by far the best. So just because LinkedIn's a professional platform doesn't mean you can't talk about your family, because just thinking that your business life is here, your family life is here, that's silly. That's silly. You're a human being. Talk about you as a human being and what goes on with you beyond just work, work, work. That's what people will resonate with the most. So then I'm just going to briefly talk about writing, briefly talk about photography, and then we can get into any kind of questions. So how to write more good, which is a joke that's written incorrectly. Some of this is based on writing. And a lot of people are not good at writing because it's a skill and they haven't practiced it. But how do you get better at any skill? If I want to go learn piano, I'm going to be terrible at first, but I'm going to have to be terrible and I'm going to have to practice. And as I practice, I'm going to get better. That's the exact same thing with speaking, with writing, with communication overall. It is a skill. And the more you approach it that way, the faster you'll be able to improve. So this is my writing process, how I've written tens of thousands of posts at this point. One, I identify what is the point I want to make. What is this post about? What am I trying to share? What is the main point? If there's one point, what is it? Next, I write. I just send it. I don't think about it. I'll just write. So I'll write everything I need to write. And then third, I will simplify. And this is most important. So I'll reference what is the point I'm trying to make, and I will go through the post and I will make it shorter 10 out of 10 times. I will remove anything that is not contributing to the main point. And this is true for emails. This is true for anything. If it's not contributing to that main point, it goes. And if it's valuable, I might take it out and make another post with that point. But if it's distracting from what I'm trying to achieve, it's gone. So this is most important. I simplify. Simple, simple, simple. And then finally, I review again for correctness, so I'm not perceived as a slob. I clean everything up, make sure the grammar's right, so on and so forth. And nowadays, there's a bunch of tools that help you do this really effectively. So again, what is the point I want to make? I write. I don't worry about it. I just write. And then I go back. I always make things shorter, not longer. If I'm making it longer, something's wrong. And then finally, I'll review again, second time for correctness. I'll publish it. And then the nice thing is about social media, the next day, everybody's forgotten about it. And I'm on to a clean sheet of paper, which I think is a great thing. Finally, real quick on photo and video, just some tips for anybody curious. Simple. Phone is best. You don't need a camera. You don't need a camera. You already have a camera. It's your phone. You probably already have a bunch of photos on your phone. So if you're looking for stuff, use your phone. Your phone is your best friend. Next, you can source, especially from a company standpoint, source photos and videos from your team. Invite people into the process. The most amazing thing about trust is if you give people your trust, they don't screw it up. And every once in a while, you'll have the oddball that will, you handle it accordingly. But I've trusted people since I've started our company. We employ a lot of people now. We don't get taken advantage of because once you have a genuine sense of trust, you don't want to screw it up. So involving your team, getting them involved in this, trusting them is a really, really big deal. Finally, sunrise, sunset. If you do take pictures, they're going to be 10 times better if they're in the morning or in the evening. Avoid midday, especially in mining. The whitish, grayish rock is just so reflective. It doesn't make anything look very good. And big picture too, if you're a company, you can also hire a professional quarterly or twice a year to develop a big bank of assets that you can then use for social posts throughout the year. And I've done a lot of this for companies over the years. So that is what we have here. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back here, and I hope there's a chat. You can maybe in the chat. Oh, it says chat isn't available. Well, good. Is the Q&A. All right.
I think it should be for
the Q&A is available. So if you go to the Q&A button, if anybody has a question, you can type in a question there, and I should be able to see it. There have to be questions because I've had so many questions about this stuff, but maybe everybody just gets it. Or maybe the question thing isn't working.
let me try it and see if it is. Maybe it just takes people a minute to type it out.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Dawn. How does YouTube differ from LinkedIn? YouTube is all video-based content. It is the largest video-based content platform and search platform in the world. It's a great resource. We publish videos on there weekly. The most recent videos we did on mining were 2 videos with Rio Tinto on their Western Australia Pilbara operations. The thing with YouTube is you can reach a lot of people. It just takes more time and energy. So if you're a company, I highly recommend exploring YouTube, and even just from an educational standpoint, highlighting what you do as a business and publishing that on YouTube. But it's a little bit more labor intensive. LinkedIn is a social network. So it's based on you as an individual, and you build a network. The really nice thing is, for me at least, I can go out and reach a lot of decision makers very effectively by publishing on there every day. And it doesn't have to be video on LinkedIn. I can post photos. I can also just do text. And so a common question I get is, well, what if my employer has a 0, you're fired if you post a picture on the internet policy, which happens all the time, unfortunately, in this world? You don't even need photos to post on LinkedIn. You can simply just do text, and you can make it completely anonymous too. So it's just you. It's not at all representative of where you work or your employer. So I would say LinkedIn, social network, much easier to share every day. It's a lot easier for individuals. YouTube is a great resource, but it's a lot more involved. Now we're getting questions here. Anne asked, could you share a bit more about how to make workers your best allies in storytelling? I get them involved. I make them a part of it. If they have an idea, hey, how do you guys think we should do this? You know, you're in the pit every day. What should we be highlighting? If you involve them in the process, they're going to be a lot more bought in. 2, if I tell their story, if I take their picture, I'm going to show it to them. I'm going to, again, make them part of the process. I'm making them look good. And who doesn't want to look good? And I also explain the why. Hey, I'm not out here to just annoy you with my camera. And I know you don't want to be here. I get it. I understand. I don't want to be here either in a lot of ways. I don't want to be making you uncomfortable. But this is about educating people about why what you do is so important. Like what you all are doing out here is a really big deal, and you know it, but people don't. And so if we're able to take these pictures, tell these stories, we're going to be able to give you some of these things so that you can share what you do more with your family, which is awesome. That's a big deal. And we're just going to get the community more involved. And once you explain that why, that big picture, I have very rarely ran into anybody that does not want to be a part of it or is grumpy about it. If you make it fun, it is fun. I think in my experience, everybody's wanted to be involved in some capacity. When and where will your training content be available? You can reach out to us on our company website. It's just buildwitt.com, BuildWitt.com, and we're happy to talk to you more about that. Alex, what tips can you provide for dealing with younger generations to attract them to the industry now? Values have shifted over and over. How can we adjust? I think a lot of people from a recruitment standpoint are approaching recruiting from their perspective and their generation, which is wrong, because their generation is not, again, the target audience. The target audience is a younger individual. But I don't think the values of younger people have shifted that much. I think that is a misconception. I think younger people, they still want to support their families. They still want money. Everybody wants money, needs money to build the life that they want to go build, take care of their family. That's important, 1. 2, everybody wants to make a difference. Everybody wants to make a difference. So if you can highlight the difference the industry is making in society, that's a really big deal. And I think that really appeals to the next generation. 3, this industry is cool. Who doesn't want to work in a cool world? And so I struggle, and this is not just mining. This is construction, blue collar, across the board. Because the companies need people. They're trying to make this world into something it's not. They're trying to polish it a little bit, or it's not hard, or well, we have all this technology, so on and so forth, because they think that's what the next generation wants to hear. But a haul truck is still cool. Mining is still cool. Shovels are still cool. I wouldn't have the social following if I did, if it wasn't naturally cool to people. And so I don't think as an industry, we have to think that hard about this. We just have to start somewhere. We just have to show people what it is that we do and how we do it, if nothing else. I think that is more than enough to appeal to the next generation. Amanda, do you think TikTok is an effective platform? Do you know of any TikTokers who are currently representing mining? There are some. It is effective. The reason why I don't talk about it specifically is because it's very different. It's very overwhelming. And if you look at all of the social media stuff out there, you're just going to get overwhelmed probably, and you're going to say, this is just too much. So I try to keep this presentation very simple. Just start somewhere. That's all you have to do. LinkedIn's my favorite place, but if you start on Instagram or if you start on Facebook, that's fantastic. And then you can build it out from there. I use the same content, the same photos and videos on TikTok, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram. I'm using the same content across every single platform because good storytelling is good storytelling. So that's why I focus more here on the fundamentals, quality storytelling. Make it about others, add value consistently. You'll grow your following, and you'll be able to reach more no matter the platform once you figure out those fundamentals. Tim, the map is very simplified. I just had one dot on the United States, but I do 30 to 40 states a year. So we've gone all over the United States. But I love going to other countries because I think in the United States, we're fooled into thinking we're best in class in everything. And I've learned that's just not true, especially when it comes to mining. I think we're good, but there's other countries out there that I think are doing a much better job. I think Australia is number one, and there's different reasons for that. It's not apples to oranges, but Australia is the mining companies out there and the industry out there is much more aggressive in telling its story and showing people what the lifestyle of mining looks like. And while they're still struggling in some regards for workforce, they've had, I think, much better results when it comes to workforce. So I think the United States can look to other countries and how they've done it. I would say the Australians are really impressive. Europe is really impressive. And then South America, like Chile, is remarkable with how they tell the story, how they engage the community. In Chile, for example, I know women in mining is a big deal. I've never seen more women in mining than in Chile. And what they've done down there is remarkable to engage younger women from the community into the industry, to accommodate them, to do things a little bit differently, to make sure that it's a place for them as well. And they've had remarkable success as a result. So I go to other countries just to see potentially better ways to do things and take those ideas and bring them back to the United States so that we can all grow and learn faster. There's now a lot of questions, so we're just going to keep rolling here. Stephen, great comment. As a company, we use LinkedIn daily for posts, as Aaron has suggested. We use YouTube for brief intros and demos to our products, as well as brief trainings, usually no more than 5 minutes per training, which is a great note there. That is about the attention span most folks have in my experience. And most of our training videos, we've developed over 1,500 now. Almost all of them are 5 minutes and under. Talia, how do you speed up the approval process for content with representing companies, response time, etc.? I always position it in their best interest. So I don't go to a mining company. I didn't go to Rio Tinto and say, hey, Rio Tinto, I'm a big deal. And so can I go see the Pilbara? They would have said, kick rocks. That makes no sense. Instead, I went to Rio Tinto and said, hey, Rio Tinto, I would love to see what you all do. And I would love to capture what you all do. And I would love to then share what you all do to give you all the credit you deserve for the impact you're making on society, and hopefully help you find more people to work at your company. And so because I position it from their perspective, and I build the key relationships I need within each organization, I find out what the approval process looks like. I try to build those key relationships. I'm able to, I mean, sometimes it still takes months, but I'm able to navigate that pretty effectively. Once I get one of the stakeholders bought in, once they understand the why and the benefit to them, then things start to happen a lot faster. How, in your experience, do companies effectively storytell around environmental concerns? How do you recommend companies address pushback on content published on social media? From an environmental standpoint, I think number one, companies just need to talk more about what they do from an environmental standpoint. There's still very little on what goes on a mine day to day from an environmental standpoint, and the concerns that mining companies have for the environment, and what they have to do to ensure that the groundwater is good to go, or the surrounding area is good to go, or that land is reclaimed, so on and so forth. And so I think just explaining the process and talking about what it takes to operate a mine in an environmentally conscious way. People have never seen that before. So that on its own is a big deal, and will go a long way. How do you recommend companies address pushback on content published on social media? Me personally, I don't really respond to it. I don't really read comments because it's just a dark place. I think you're without a doubt going to get pushback. But if you're consistently telling that positive story, I think most people are smart enough to make up their minds and to understand what the heck's going on there. And so when somebody does come over and give you that pushback, which is inevitable, it happens all the time to me and to anybody in mining especially, then people again are smart enough to say, okay, yeah, that's what that person thinks, but based on the story I've seen from this company, that's just not reality. But I don't address it specifically. I just leave it be, because if you leave it be, then you get less of it. If you start to engage and look for it, you ironically get more of it. How do you deal with getting formal approvals before uploading items? I always get formal approval. Again, like I said before, I make it within, I frame it in their best interest. And then I'm always sure to go through the process and understand who the key stakeholders are, who holds the keys, whose check mark I need to get on that content to be good to go. And then I always offer them the content as well, because they're especially a big mining company. They're always looking for great photographs. They're always looking for great videos. And so if you, again, do it in their best interest from their perspective, you are going to be far more successful at getting stuff approved. In addition to the TikTok question, do you think that having a short video that grabs somebody's attention is more effective? I think effective storytelling is more effective. The most popular podcasts in the world right now are 1, 2, 3 hours long, which goes against everything you hear about people's attention span going out the window. Our most popular contents are long form YouTube stuff. And the most popular comment we get on YouTube is, this video is too short. And it's like a 17-minute video. They're like, I could have watched an hour on this. So is short video great? Yeah, it's great. You don't have to be very complicated with it. If you go on Instagram right now, I think in the past 30 days, I've reached 15 million accounts reached in the last 30 days just on Instagram. That's about what I average, between 15 and 20 million accounts. No paid advertising, all completely authentic. If you look through the videos I've posted on Instagram, almost all of them are probably 15 to 30-second videos from my phone. That's it. There's nothing all that refined achieving and getting people's attention, because it's good, valuable content. Rodney, we have recently embraced our own storytelling on LinkedIn and getting great feedback. Originally, we weren't sure about where to start and were concerned about creating high quality video production, but realized it is more about the substance of our stories and the value we provide. We thoroughly believe in what you're teaching and commend you for what you're doing. Your passion is palpable. Thank you, Rodney. That's really, really helpful. Dawn, I cannot seem to increase my views on LinkedIn more than 5,000. How can I increase my views? I would ask, how often are you posting? I would say share one thing every day. And for the next 30 days, I will guarantee that you will have more reach on your platform and on your LinkedIn profile if you do it consistently. And I say do it every day for 30 days because you're probably going to respond, well, I don't have that much to talk about. And that's the point. If you do it consistently, you start to train yourself to notice the great stories happening around you all the time. But you just haven't built that skill set of noticing those stories and telling those stories. But if you have to do it every day, you start to notice all of these beautiful things happening around you all the time, and you can tell those stories a lot more effectively. So the first thing I would say is I would just be really consistent with it. And second, with LinkedIn, the nice thing is you can add people, you can connect with people. So I've been able to strategically build my following on LinkedIn by actively connecting with other people at companies that I want to target. Tim, in your opinion, what is the most important story for our industry to tell? What it does. If I were to ask somebody on the street, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, I go down to Broadway, I say, hey, to anybody, what do you think about mining in the United States? They would say one of two things. They would say, we don't do that anymore. Or they would say, it's destroying the environment. And that is the result of a complete lack of story, because we know both of those things are not at all true. And yet, to the common person, that is the reality. And so the most important story our industry needs to tell is its story. And I don't care what story that is. I don't care where you start. Everybody, if every mining company, if everybody in mining was telling a story about mining, imagine the dramatic shift in perception we could achieve as an industry. Amanda, on behalf of Neil Jensen, have you found an effective cadence for the frequency that companies should be posting? I like consistency. And so if consistency is once a week for you and that's all you can commit to, then do once a week and just make it consistent. If twice a week is what you can do it twice a week. Ideally, I would do once a day. That's as consistent as you can get. But all that matters is consistency. So best case scenario, I would share something every day, because at your company, I guarantee you there are so many more than 365 great stories that you can tell every year. There's stories all over the place. And once you start to tell those stories, it gets easier. You start to get more people involved and it'll start feed itself. But number one, just be consistent. Daisy, do you think going viral is what gets an online presence going? Absolutely not. I have never once gone viral. And I have, but that has not built any kind of significant percentage of any kind of following I have. It's a fallacy. And it's happened to a few people, but that's just not the reality. It's like sports, every once in a while you will have this wonderkind that will come in and will blow the doors off everything. But 9 out of 10 times it's whoever's put in the work. And that's all that's here as well. So these influencers, these social media companies, whatever it is, they'll tell you it's all about the algorithm and oh, you need to do this to go viral, so on and so forth. No, you just have to deliver value consistently. That's it. And you have to also ask yourself, are big numbers everything? Or are really, if you have 1,000 people that you're reaching that are all in your community, or that are all at your company, or that are all the people that you're targeting, that can be a lot more valuable a lot of times than a video that reaches 10 million people in a sense. And so it's not always just about numbers. Very rarely is it actually about numbers. Janelle, can you provide some ways to expand our reach on LinkedIn, specifically to reach people that are outside our network and outside the mining industry? It sounds like I'm giving you a non-answer and I'm being repetitive, but that's because it is the most fundamental thing. Post consistently and deliver value consistently. If you do those things, and I'm saying that because that's what I've done and it has worked. It has worked on every platform consistently, no matter what's changed. If you post, if you deliver value consistently, you will grow your reach outside of your network and you will grow your reach outside the mining industry. I know that for a fact. Angelique, would you say the quality over quantity of posts is something that should be considered when posting? Yes. However, I don't mean quality by great professional image or video. I mean quality as in the value it is providing to people. The best posts I've posted, again, are I would like to think I'm one of the better professional photographers in the industry in the world. I have an incredible, one of the biggest library of professional mining imagery worldwide that exists in the world. Some of, and probably all of my best posts on social media have been from my phone, have been just terrible photos or really old photos or super like really unpolished stuff. But it's because the quality of the value, the value I was offering those posts are oftentimes the biggest thing. And so quality over quantity for sure. I would be consistent and I would consistently deliver value. So whatever cadence you can consistently deliver value at is what I would do it. You can use professional photos, you can use professional video, great, but a lot of times that's not at all necessary. Alex, since we all operate individually, do you have any advice on how we can better support each other? The association can share member news easily, but are there other ways companies can support each other without that competition block? An easy way is just liking other people's stuff. If you see it, I'm always trying to like people because then that then promotes it to my network. Or hey, if you resonate with somebody, even if they're at a competitor, hey, this person made a great point, or this is a really amazing story, I'm going to share it. And you can reshare stuff on LinkedIn or on other social platforms. So you can reshare stuff, which is a great way to support people. And then you can tag other people in posts as well. You can comment on people's posts. Hey, this was a really great thought. Thank you so much. Don't be one of those people making the stupid negative comments. I get plenty of those. They're just ridiculous. You look dumb. But comment like, this is great. I'm really happy to see XYZ company investing in their people. I appreciate what you all are doing. So it's as simple as leaving a comment, or if you see somebody here posting on social media for the first time, when I see the people at our company who have never posted on social media before, they come in and we say, hey, if you want to post on social media, it'll make you better as an individual. They post on there. I'm the first one to give them a call or message them and say, hey, nice job. That was a really great post. I really think you did a nice job there. So I think those are really simple ways to support people.
All right, Aaron, I don't see any other questions. This is the last call for questions from all of our participants today. Okay, well, thank you all for being here. And again, thank you, Aaron, for your words of wisdom. I encourage all of you to follow Aaron on social media for some inspiration. And we appreciate all of the knowledge that you've shared with us today. And I hope you can anticipate seeing lots more posts coming out of Nevada to help tell the mining story better. So thanks again for your time, Aaron, and for everyone who joined us this afternoon.
Awesome.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.